You know how we get down. Yeah, the way we gon' work it out.
I am Pastor Julius, and this is my lovely wife,
Lady Ashante.
and we got some really good information that we want to share with you guys called Let's Make Marriage Great Again. A discussion is called Let's Make Marriage Great Again. A discussion is called Let's Make
Oh my God, bro.
Listen, man, we are excited to be here.
I'm just
What's the
glad
name
the
of our
world.
podcast again?
Are you serious? The world gets to see finally.
They get to see the vision.
They get to see everything of what I have to endure.
Of the ridiculousness that we got to go through, that I have to go through, and but I'm excited.
Oh,
about
ladies
it,
and gentlemen, welcome to Make Marriage Great Again.
we're super excited about it. MMGA, live and in the flesh.
We have a YouTube channel now.
Do we?
Yeah,
What's the YouTube channel?
Make Marriage Great Again. Duh.
Listen, Make Marriage.
I paid for that name. That name is
It's
trademark.
y'all.
I could put TM next to that mug.
So listen, we're glad you guys tuned in, and I'm in my basement, and I feel good about it.
You're not supposed to tell people we're in the basement.
Why not?
Because
Because what?
it's not going to look like we're in the basement, and you're not supposed to look at the camera unless you are specifically talking to the people.
I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's our
Talking to the
first.
people.
It's our first time, so we're going to help this brother through it
So if it's our first time, how you gonna help me do anything?
because I was made for this.
Listen,
I'm not new to this. I'm true
well,
to
you
this.
was made for it. Guess what? I was born for it.
Okay.
It's a difference. It's a
I'm not
difference.
new to this. I'm true to this. I'm sitting back.
Listen, let's
I got a
dive in.
little iced coffee in my cup.
Is that what you over there drinking?
Yeah, it's a
Is that-
shaken oat milk espresso.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that why your heartbeat is so fast? So many times
Let's
per
see
minute?
what it is. Oh, it's down to 89.
89 beats per minute.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a lot? What should it be?
Resting? It
Yeah.
kind of depends on the person.
Yeah, I get that. So listen, let's dive in. Let's don't take too long. There's a lot of stuff going on happening
Yeah.
in our world.
Can we just pause for station identification for a second
Sure.
and celebrate the fact that Make Marriage Great Again has graduated to the big leagues now?
Sure, absolutely.
So we went from, y'all know we had to take a hiatus. COVID happened. Literally, you can use COVID for everything right now.
COVID.
What
is
happened?
the COVID.
COVID.
Yeah,
Why wasn't you? COVID.
yeah,
Why would you let COVID?
yeah.
You can break almost all your commitments now because of COVID.
But guess what? We survived.
We're still here. Podcast came back strong. Okay, that's the one I was waiting for. And we went from just audio to now
Got a little video
video.
going. I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. Are we good to go on the
We're
everything
good.
picking up?
Everything is good. We're good to go.
All right, well then we can rock and roll.
So there's a lot happening. China just shut back down.
Man, they said they had 30 million cases. Well, you know, China is crazy populated.
Yeah.
30 million cases
of
in
COVID.
one day.
That's a lot of cases.
Indeed, it is.
That's a lot going on. So they're shut down. The other day, the United States, we had the most cases in one day
In the world.
in the world.
Because
America.
the United States, we don't have any more money to give anybody. So we cannot afford another shutdown. There
We
is no
can't.
more money.
It's too crazy. It'd be too crazy, wouldn't it?
Well, you shut down now, you're going to have to start like using those bullets that you bought.
My Lord.
Because, there's just no more money.
Yeah.
So now if you tell me I can't go to work and you're not going to give me no stimmy,
Lord Jesus.
it's a problem.
Something got to happen.
Indeed it does.
Something got to give. So that's going on. Current events. But what's going on with Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson?
It's,
He
you
got
know, the
another-
world moves so fast. That's old news, but it's still relevant news when it comes to relationships. So, Raggedy Tristan, now I could call him Raggedy. Because you be telling me I can't call men Raggedy, but that Negro's Raggedy.
All right.
I'm just letting you know.
Listen.
He's had 2 children on her.
Are they in relationship?
Yes.
They are?
She took him back. And
After
then,
the first one?
yes.
And then he had another child.
Yes. With his trainer. But his trainer. First of all, if I was his girl, wife, anything, if I would have seen her, I would have been like, bro, you're not training with her.
Right.
She's bodied all crazy. And you don't need no female trainer. You go get you a big black husky, you know what I'm saying, 6'2" something. Not no that.
Little dainty, little small waist. Crazy baby.
Oh, don't. I'm done. We can end right now. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, we can end right now.
Look, listen. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. So earlier today we were talking about the difference between loyalty and faithfulness.
Yeah. Shout out to my homegirl Tyann.
Yeah. Who
I consistently have these back and forth sessions with.
Yeah.
On the Bible and just good words. She's a wordsmith and stuff. So
yeah.
That's how it came up this morning. We were talking about that, and of course, if anybody wants to follow us around with a camera and a phone or a recorder, our whole live is a podcast because these are the kind of conversations we have all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this dynamic, this very interesting between faithfulness and loyalty, and really like how on the surface they almost seem the same.
Yeah.
And it even got so deep to where I had to look up this word loyalty and see what the definition of it is in the dictionary.
Yeah.
And the word faithfulness is encompassed within the definition, the few definitions that I saw of this word loyalty. But I think we were kind of making some interesting distinguishments between the two words. And I thought it was pretty dope.
Yeah.
And I think you brought some things to light as far as, you know, what we could consider maybe some differences between faithfulness and loyalty.
Yeah.
And I think the people need to hear it, y'all. Y'all need to hear it. Like, this is some good stuff. This is the type of stuff that's off the cuff, that means something. You know, the type of stuff that we're like, if you got a dude and he play ball and he do the stuff that don't go on the stat sheet, like hustle and grab that ball before it go out of bounds and all that type of stuff. Like, that type of stuff is tremendously valuable, but there's no stat for it. And
but you need him on the squad.
You need him on the squad because he's going to boost the morale. His energy is cold. It's just all good. And the distinguishments that Ashante was bringing for the difference between loyalty and faithfulness, I think, are those things that are tremendously valuable, but you can't really quantify. So why don't you just go ahead and grace us with some of your stuff, man? Some of your genius.
When you do that, I have to like live up to this hype.
It ain't living up to nothing because you said you was made for it just 5 minutes ago.
Well, I'm talking about when it comes to like being on the camera and stuff, like, duh.
You said you was made for it.
But when you tell somebody that I know calculus and I really am at a geometry level, now I gotta
so
turn
now
it
you're
on.
this. I feel like this is a little false humility. I feel like this is false humility. Right now, what you're doing, I feel like it's
I'm at
a
a
little
geometry level.
See,
and
that's a setup for just in case if it ain't that good.
Telling the world I know calculus.
She gave you almost like a precursor.
Man.
But why don't you grace us with what you came up with?
We were having a conversation earlier, and we were talking about the difference between just loyalty and faithfulness. And what my thought was that loyalty is self-serving. And we were talking about the Bible, and I was saying the Lord never said in the Bible anything about being loyal. He always talked about faithful, thy good and faithful servant, being faithful over a few things. Only by faith can you please. It was never loyal. And when I think about loyalty in the terms of relationships, my granny would always say a loyal dog always come home. And he's still a dog though, but he'd come home because that's where he knows where to lay his head at. That's where he knows he's gonna get a hot meal from. So he's loyal in the sense of that. But when we're talking about faithful, I'd rather have a faithful husband than a loyal husband. I feel like loyalty is circumstantial. Loyalty is based on how you feel. Loyalty, it serves you. And I think you came up with a good point. You brought the dude up that plays basketball. And you were like, so this dude, grind on his life just to make it to the league. I was like, yeah, he's loyal to basketball because it serves him. Because if the league don't happen, he's not going hard like that no more. And I think you said it. You said earlier that the end of something dictates whether or not someone was loyal versus faithful. So when circumstances change, you will see people not be loyal anymore.
So what you're saying is basically if the commitment goes away because the circumstance changed,
Yeah.
then what you're saying is that wasn't
Faithfulness.
that was loyalty.
Correct.
And so you're saying, like, really the only way to be able to judge whether or not if it was faithfulness or if it was loyalty is at the end. Because of, and this is from a biblical lens, because of, in scripture it says, well done, thy good and faithful servant. Meaning,
Yeah.
we've come to the end of this thing.
Right. Not my good and loyal servant.
Right. It didn't say, Lord, I don't even really know truthfully where the word loyal is in the Bible, to be honest. I don't even know if it's there.
I feel like
I've never
man made that up because faithfulness is too hard.
Yeah.
Because faithfulness is every time. It's consistent. It never stops. It doesn't. You don't get out of being faithful because of a circumstance or a situation or because you don't want to. I feel like with loyalty, it's yours. You decide whether or not you want to be loyal based on the result. And so you have people in relationships or friendships or whatever the ship, and they say, I'm making the decision not to be loyal to you anymore because it is not serving me anymore. So
that's a whole nother rabbit trail. I ain't gonna go down that one. I'm gonna keep it here. So basically what you're saying is the moment that the desired result is different than reality is the moment where you're able to make a distinguishment between faithfulness
and loyalty.
And
Absolutely.
So when the reality doesn't match up with the desired result, and person X decides I'm out, then they weren't faithful. They were just loyal because that situation is no longer serving them.
I mean, when we looked up the definition, it was very clear that loyalty is it's attached to something. And you have people who are loyal to causes, right?
Yeah.
Until that cause doesn't serve them anymore.
Yeah.
You have people who are loyal to institutions. Until when? Until that institution isn't serving them anymore.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, yes, you can be loyal for a season. You have people who are loyal for years.
Yeah.
Until something shifts. And normally that something that shifts is it is not serving them anymore. Faithfulness doesn't serve you 99% of the time, like 100% of the time. When you look at faithfulness, it's a very selfless act. If I'm faithful, that means that I'm faithful beyond what I feel, beyond what I want, beyond anything else. I'm faithful because I'm faithful, not because, I'm getting something out of it. But the craziest thing about faithfulness is when you are faithful, you are getting something.
So faithfulness is attached to God.
Yes.
Loyalty is attached to man.
Absolutely.
Almost like to kind of make that distinguishment.
I agree.
So let me ask you this question. Let me play devil's advocate a little bit here.
Because you live here. This is where this is where he lives.
We gotta get good. It's gotta get good. It's gotta make sense. So you got a person in a relationship with their significant other, and things are going well. 7 years in, 8 years in, they find out that their significant other is doing things that breach the covenant.
Okay.
Whatever it is, it don't necessarily have to mean cheating, like with another person, infidelity. Whatever breaches the covenant, because the marriage vows is the government of a marriage, the vows, and they're doing things that breach the vows. And so at that point, are you saying that the person who then makes the decision not to be with that person anymore who were breaching the vows, you're saying all of that time leading up to them making that decision, that wasn't called faithfulness, that was called loyalty?
Absolutely. Because if the individual was faithful, meaning despite the circumstance changing, they are still there. So you brought up the vows. Okay, great point. The vows, sickness and in health, richer or for poor. So what happens when I'm now sick? So you were only doing what? Being loyal to me while it was serving you, because I'm healthy and I'm not taxing you while I'm healthy. But the minute your circumstance changes, you're not there anymore?
Well, if the covenant is the government, then
You're not faithful to the covenant.
so this is what I'm getting at. So the person who says, "Sir," she says, "Sir, you stepped out.
Yeah.
So because you stepped out, I'm done." And so what you're saying is that covenant, that relationship was no longer serving the one who got cheated on. So if the one who got cheated on now makes the decision that they want to exit that situation, are you saying that they weren't faithful? They were only loyal?
No, I think the individual that happens to, that is not up to them. They are allowed to exit that situation. We know that. We know that there's allowance for divorce biblically. You know what I'm saying? And so we understand that for me, it's not on that individual. The person, though, they were not faithful to the covenant. And I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to say, well, yeah, that person's supposed to stay because that would be faithfulness. Right. No.
And so I think that's where...
Once it's broken, what am I being faithful to?
Right. So, okay. So now, basically then, it has to be to where, like, it's not a... something detrimental. It just has to be something that's not serving you anymore in order for it not to have been faithfulness. It was only loyalty. So, say for instance, I say to this organization I'm in, based upon everything you've laid out for me, I'm in. Mm-hmm. And in this season of my life, what was laid out for me suits me. Here it is, that selfish piece.
Yes.
It suits me. Everything you're laying out for me suits me. So, yes, I'm willing to be a part of this.
Correct.
And so then, if the organization doesn't change, everything they said was going to happen is happening.
Yeah.
But because we're people and we change, we evolve, we enter into different seasons of life. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm in a different season of life. I'm, whatever it is, I've changed. I want something different. And so what you're saying is the moment that I now exit that situation, I wasn't faithful. I was only loyal.
So let's be clear. There's not a negative connotation attached to loyalty. I think that it's good to be loyal. So I'm not saying that loyalty is a bad thing, because in that instance, people are allowed to grow and evolve. But again, it doesn't serve them anymore.
So it was still only loyalty.
I mean, for me, faithfulness is, like you said, it's to the end. Now, to the end of that job, to the end of that relationship, to the end of that.
Right.
And I think that is to be determined.
The end is what substantiates
for
this
me,
being
what
the end?
Substantiates the end is something not existing anymore, not because it doesn't serve you anymore.
Okay.
So, for example, because this happens all the time in organizations. Mm-hmm. We see it happening right now. They're calling it the great whatever. All these people are quitting.
The great walkout.
The great walkout.
Don't walk out, y'all.
And they're walking out because they're saying, oh, this doesn't serve me anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so you only stay when it benefits you.
So, see, and this is what I'm saying, like, this is a hard saying. And I think like, when you bring it back from a biblical lens...
This is why faithfulness is hard.
Even the disciples was telling Jesus, bro, like, this is a hard saying. You talking about
nobody said it was easy.
Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you.
Nobody said it was going to be easy. And I think that this is why it's hard for salvation now.
Yeah.
Because if salvation was based on loyalty, you have a whole bunch of Negroes out here saved.
Because let's be clear, at one point or another, salvation does serve a person. So, I'm downtrodden, I'm beat up, life done tore me up, I made a few bad choices, I need some healing and some restoration. I come to church, the pastor, the minister, whomever is speaking a word directly to my situation. Mm-hmm. It's making me feel better, I feel good about life. Salvation is good for me then, I love it. But then on the flip side, when salvation starts placing a demand on me,
or when life is dynamic like it is and it start beating you up, you think that salvation somehow is supposed to give you I don't have to go through this thing called life pass.
I think that I don't have to be faithful to the covenant of God anymore because my situation is straight now. Or the flip side of it, maybe life ain't good. Maybe I came and had that whole situation happen. Something was spoken to my life, made me feel better, right? And I thought my situation was going to change.
And when my situation does
and
not
my
change.
situation didn't change initially like I thought it should, now all of a sudden, I'm exiting my situation with God, with church and everything because I don't feel like this is serving me anymore.
So here it is. So faithfulness is a biblical thing.
It is.
And if we really approach life from Bible,
from a biblical lens,
Bible perspectives, then our relationships would be better.
But here's the thing, though: it challenges us because a lot of the things a lot of the perspectives and the ways in which Scripture, I guess, influences us or prompts us to view life is different than the things that we're exposed to.
No, it goes against our flesh. And our flesh don't like to be uncomfortable. We are selfish people by nature.
Yeah.
So what faithfulness does is faithfulness comes in and immediately challenges selfishness.
It does.
Off the rip, faithfulness is like, nah, you got to put that down. Like, what do you mean? This is what I, because everything that you were saying, it's very self-serving. Now, I'm not saying that you're not to have wisdom and you stay in situations that are abusing you. Yeah. No. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that what we deal with as humans, we get out of there when it doesn't serve us anymore.
And I think part of that is it being able to know the difference between when it's abuse, when this is toxic, when this is not healthy, versus I just don't want to anymore. I don't feel like it anymore. And this ain't serving me no more.
And it's, for me, man, you have some seasons where you serving, period.
Yeah.
You just do. There was this unbelievable conversation, man, I was having the other day. And it was talking about, there was an Instagram post that somebody posted, and it basically was saying, we need to grow up thinking that everything is reciprocal. Because everything is not reciprocal at the same time. And we are conditioned to think, when we talk about relationships, like, oh, if it ain't reciprocal, I'm not in it. Which means tit for tat almost, like back and forth. Sometimes I'm not able to, in this season or my process, to even reciprocate to you what you're giving to me. However, that doesn't mean that I won't be able to reciprocate. But what we've been conditioned in is, if you are in process and I'm developed in that area, and so because you can't reciprocate to me, then I'm not going to be in relationship with you. That's self-serving.
Or we think that reciprocation has to come from the same place where something was given.
And not the Lord. Correct.
And so again, that's looking at it from a very selfish lens. I think that whatever I did to you, then you're supposed to turn around and do for me. And I never really even saw, even in Scripture, where it said that. It says, give and it shall be given. It sames, whatever a man reaps, he's going to sow. It wasn't no specificity on where you're going to reap, it from, you know what I mean? The specificities of that weren't really laid out for us. We just got to trust that whatever I sow,
the Lord going to take care of that.
I'm going to reap it.
And that's perfect. That right there is perfect, because that is why you would be faithful. That's why.
Faithful to the Lord.
Well, keeping his commandments, following his lead, doing what he say do, and not a person. Because the minute that, even in a marriage, the minute that I look at you and I'm like, oh, well, Julius is not doing this, so I ain't going to do that. I'm not serving the Lord no more. Yeah. I made a covenant to God first, then to you. Yeah. I stood before the Lord and I made a promise to the Lord, then you. Yeah. And so the minute I take on that mentality, I'm breaking my covenant with him first.
Yeah.
And again, when we're talking about, this is a biblical principle, faithfulness is being faithful. When you begin to move and scoot around town on loyalty,
Yeah.
you are leaving out faithfulness.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, just looking at it just theologically, Jesus wasn't using that word loyalty.
He never did.
Even the disciples, when Jesus was walking with them and he cursed the fig tree, and then the disciples was like, man, we need that kind of faith. Even they didn't have loyalty in mind when they were communicating with the Savior. They didn't say we need that kind of loyalty.
So we need that kind of faith.
They said we need that kind of faith. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and faithfulness says this. Faithfulness says, even against the circumstances, I'm still going to remain until the end.
And then that's where people would come and say, but what about if somebody's getting abused? And what about if, you know what I'm saying? You get that.
And that's where I feel like we got to be able to articulate to them, the people who have that question. Wisdom.
Yeah.
On how to really navigate between toxicity.
Yes.
Abuse, right?
Or you just being ridiculous.
Or you just don't want to and you just don't feel like it. And what happens is we will hide, I don't want to and I don't feel like it, up underneath toxicity. I got to get out this relationship. It's toxic.
Yeah. 2022, and my mental health. And I'm not saying that mental health is not a real thing, because it is a real thing. But I believe now it has shifted now into this fad. Yeah. It went from not being talked about, and we desperately needed it. Yeah. To now being talked about all the time, to where now it's like a fad, and so now people are almost using it as a scapegoat. Yeah. When it comes to anything, when it's not serving me anymore, when I don't want to, I have to protect my mental health. Or do you just need to not be selfish? Yeah, because what if you're just being challenged, and you don't want to be challenged, you don't feel like you should be challenged, or you don't have a healthy respect or regard for the person who's challenging you. That's a whole nother. And so because I don't have a healthy respect and or regard for you, I don't accept your challenge. Or I don't have a healthy regard for correction in general. Yeah, and so now I got to protect my mental health. And the relationship is toxic, but then you mess around and get into the nuances of the relationship and you start finding out like that relationship is not toxic at all. You're toxic. You're being challenged in some areas to come up, to be better, to do right, to make better decisions. But because you're not ready for that type of commitment, man, you run off and you say, it's toxic. And the moment people start hearing those types of buzzwords, like toxic, abuse, everybody back off. Everybody on eggshells when they start hearing those types of words. That's the world we live in, though. You have cancel culture, like you have all of this stuff now, where like that for me, and it's just all excuses to not be committed. It's all excuses to not hold your end of the bargain. It's all excuses to be extra selfish. We are legit reverting back to what is comfortable to us as humans. I mean, upon the creation of this earth, we are selfish. So that's what we do. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we do it well. I mean, it's natural. That's what I'm saying. Whatever's natural comes easy. So faithfulness challenges what's natural. So is it fair to say then that loyalty is committed to how you feel, and faithfulness is committed to what God says. So, but I do know there are some situations where because I hear people say stuff like this: I was loyal to a fault. That is self-serving. There's no validity to that? That statement alone is self-serving. I'm loyal to a fault. Meaning that you stayed and got drug around, so you thought you got drug around and you want what? Some kind of accolades because you stayed in a season that maybe you shouldn't have stayed in? Well, no. Well, maybe that person has come to the realization that they should have been got out of there. For me, faithfulness allows the out. Because faithfulness, because it's from God and it's a godly principle. Faithfulness means that there's wisdom that's exercised.
So you're saying
faithfulness is not going to have you out here not being wise.
Yeah, I think that's good, and I think honestly, man, we gotta really, maybe coming up here or whatever, really dive into helping people be able to navigate the wisdom in between what appears to be faithfulness and loyalty.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that wisdom? Because it's easy to just sit back and be like, well, if you left, you was only loyal, you wasn't faithful. You know what I'm saying? It's easy, but it's difficult to really give somebody some key indicators and some triggers to know when, I really needed to exit this situation. And this is not about me being disloyal. This is about me being faithful until the point where my faithfulness is toxic.
Okay.
Say no? You don't think faithfulness could ever become toxic?
I think loyalty can, which is why people say I'm loyal to
a fault.
Yeah.
This conversation is so needed because we got commitment issues.
Yeah.
As a people. We do. We got commitment issues. And I think, the thread between the two, faithfulness and loyalty, is commitment, right? Whenever you're loyal, you're committed. Whenever you're faithful, you're committed.
It's just different levels of commitment.
But it's different levels. It's almost like patience and procrastination. They look the same on the surface.
Until you start digging.
You know what I mean? You find out that, no, you were just procrastinating. You weren't being patient.
Yeah.
Or, no, you was really being patient. So I think it's kind of like those two words are similar on the surface. Loyalty and faithfulness are similar too. And I can't wait, man, to dive into.
Until next time.
The navigating of this whole thing, man. I'm excited about it, y'all. And I'm ready.
You got to tell the people what to do so that they know what to do. So follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, follow us on Instagram.
And what's the Instagram?
Instagram is MMGA Podcast.
MMGA Podcast. Do that.
Yeah.
And follow the YouTube channel.
Yes, which is Make Marriage Great Again.
Period on that.
Yes. And if you want to come to church.
Oh, come on, shameless plug. Let's go.
Visit www.allnationscolumbus.com and check us out. See what we're doing. Share this YouTube video, man. We're excited about this.
Absolutely. Share this. Y'all know this is legit the dopest podcast.
Flat out.
In y'all's podcast. What they call that thing?
In your
queue.
Yeah, your queue. Cue it up. Cue this up.
Cue it. Share it and cue it.
So listen, this has been a dope one, man. This has been great. Glad you guys tuned in. Make sure you tune in for the next one. They're every single Monday. They'll drop every single Monday. So make sure you guys are ready for the next one. Peace.
We be fussing, we be screaming, but you the one I wanna lay beside this evening. I'm gonna come back even when I'm leaving. You give good.